You may want to set different styles in your CSS depending on what is currently happening to the text involved. For example, you might want to add a link of a different color if the user has already clicked on it. Alternatively, maybe you want to add a hover effect, so when someone hovers over a piece of text, it appears in a different color or it gets larger. Let's look at how to add effects like this in CSS. In this HTML document, we have a navigation element that contains an unordered list that contains a set of list items, each of which is a link that currently doesn't go anywhere, thus the pound sign, but I need them to appear as links anyway. Now, the three properties that we're going to apply to these link elements are font weight, text decoration, and text transform. Font weight controls the intensity or the weight of the font, meaning if you put the value bold here, you will change your text to be bold. You can also set a value of normal if you want just normal weighted text, although this usually isn't necessary to set because it's how your text will appear by default. Or you could set it as a numerical value, for example 200, which would create a very lightweight effect. You can set 100, 200, 300, usually all the way up until about 700 when you really just get a bold effect. I'm going to set this back to 200 again, and then in the text decoration property, you can set a value of, for example, none. Like, if you want to get rid of this underline that appears by default on links, you could set this to none and it will remove the underline effect. For elements that wouldn't normally have an underline effect, you could specify underline here, like for a book title. Or you can even get crazy and set a wavy underline effect, which I really don't recommend that you do because it's a little bit cheesy and doesn't really work well with letters that hang down like a J. Let's just change this back to none. And lastly, text transform. Here I can either transform all my text to uppercase, just aesthetically. I'm not actually changing the HTML, like it still reads HOME in normal letters, not all uppercase. Or lowercase, again, just changing the appearance of the text. This can actually be a nice effect in navigation bars, all uppercase or all lowercase text. There are other interesting CSS pseudo-classes to apply to links specifically. A pseudo-class is a way of adding styles depending on the particular status of an element. For example, when an A element, meaning a link, has been visited, we can set a color for just when that is the case. And by default, visited links have a kind of gnarly purple color, the way that unvisited links have a blue color. Let's change this. Pseudo-classes are always defined with the name of the element, a colon, and then the name of the pseudo-class, which in this case is visited. I'll simply change the color of it. And in order to actually preview this effect, I need to visit one of these links. So let's just go and change this to the name of a site that I have been to, twitter.com. And since I've been to Twitter, this now counts as a visited link in my browser, and you can see that contact is now a different color than the rest of the links. You can also set pseudo-classes on links, like hover or active. So let's start with hover, meaning when we're hovering over the link, we want a different color to appear around the element. Let's set this background color to a nice light green so that when I hover over one of these links, it'll have a light green background. You can add additional effects to hovering, not just color related ones, but for example, text transform uppercase to change all the text to uppercase when you hover over the link. Lastly, we'll work with the active pseudo-class, and we'll set a background color of a slightly different light greenish yellow for when somebody is going to click on the link. That's what active means. So if I hover, I see this light green, but when I click on home, you can see the background color lightly changes to the yellow that I just specified using the pseudo-class active. You have a lot of different options for the way you trick out your text once you've actually specified a font family and written your HTML content itself, and the way you decide to do so is completely up to you.